nice spear. Spark you in the sun, morning moon. The story of my maker. What I have and what I aim for. I put a goal in it. I cut the nice spear. What else is there? What else is there?
Benji explores an abandoned house where something... In this video, a man named Benji explores an abandoned house where something very unsettling takes place. This is part of Benji's job, guarding and inspecting abandoned properties to prevent intruders from destroying or vandalizing them. But in this particular house, something unusual keeps happening. Benji admits it's the one place he genuinely dislikes checking. He often encounters trespassers and intruders there. He even filmed an entire series about this house and the mysterious figures who keep breaking into it. But this specific video was the one that frightened everyone. Here's what was caught on camera.
Ayun. There is somebody in here. I know you're in there, man. Hello? Police! I know you're in there, man. What the hell? This is in your house, man. Oh, this smells like shit.
A door opened by itself, startling the filmmaker. His first thought when he saw it move was that someone had broken in. Strangely enough, this time it wasn't what he expected. Eventually, he concluded it must have only been a draft. Then, a trespasser walked out of a room that appeared to be completely empty. Later that evening, Benji returned to the house and recorded the following.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
It happens quickly, but when the footage is slowed down and zoomed in, you can make out a figure standing inside that same room. At first it was barely noticeable, but on review it became clear. When he looked again and saw nothing there, Benji hurriedly left the house. It remains unknown whether this was the same intruder who had broken in earlier during the day, or if it was an entirely different trespasser. This is Zach Cadam, a YouTuber you might know from his channel Catch 'Em All Fishing. Zach has built a reputation for his bold and inventive style of fishing, often coming up with unusual ways to land his catch. But his curiosity doesn't stop with fish. He's equally fascinated by snakes, capturing each of his encounters with these elusive creatures on camera. Zach is not someone who scares easily, but today he's about to push himself in a way he never has before. The date is June 23rd, 2022. On this day, Zach ventures into an abandoned underground city in search of a python. Usually, he brings friends along for expeditions like this, but this time, he chose to go alone. A choice that could come back to haunt him.
I'm gonna show you where I am right now, hold on. Uh-oh. So, before I get too deep in here, just wanna let y'all know, I'm looking for snakes right now. For pythons. And honestly, feel like I shouldn't be in here. Hello? Hello? Guys, it's really creepy in here, and it's really big. Hello? God, there's so much going on. Hello? His name. That goes on forever. I don't know, this place is huge.
The underground network is enormous, and the deeper Zach goes, the more the unsettling atmosphere begins to wear on him. Every sound bounces and multiplies off the walls, creating an eerie effect. He doesn't realize it yet, but this is only the start of an ordeal far scarier than he could have imagined.
This place is just never ending. It's like everything looks the same. All the walls are like the same color and stuff. And there's so many places like that the snakes can get through, like air vents. And guys, this is honestly like This is spooky right now. What? What? Hello? Oh my god. Oh hell no. Oh crap. The voices stopped. The voices stopped, guys. What the? It could. I guess it could be someone. Dude.
Without warning, strange voices begin to echo through the structure, proof that Zach is not as alone as he thought. A heavy unease sets in, that chilling realization that he's not safe. Unsure of who might be out there, he decides to keep absolutely silent, hoping he won't be noticed.
Wish me luck, guys. I gotta shut off my light. I don't know what's going on.
As the voices move closer, Zach switches off his flashlight, determined to stay hidden. He remains frozen for 10 agonizing minutes, listening as the voices gradually fade into silence. When the stillness finally returns, Zach carefully turns his light back on. Realizing it's too dangerous to stay, he decides to retreat, choosing safety over confrontation. Later, while editing his footage at home, Zach stumbles upon something chilling, something he hadn't realized he captured at the time.
What the heck? It's leaking outside from somewhere. What? Hello?
Hearing a noise to his side, Zach turns his camera and records a figure in the next room, standing motionless, staring directly at him. He hadn't seen it in the moment, but recalls the feeling of being watched the entire time. It's a disturbing reminder of how often we take the safety of our everyday environments for granted, unaware that danger can appear in the most ordinary, unsuspecting moments. And yet, what you've seen so far is nothing compared to what comes next. This guy's name is Alex, and he is a YouTube blogger from Russia. Together with his friends, Alex heads out to explore an abandoned hotel. During their investigation, they discover that the building is literally falling apart. However, the basement levels were still in relatively good condition. Once they descended into the basement, the group repeatedly heard footsteps that did not belong to them.
Что за шутки?
Я говорю, ребята, шаги сейчас.
Прям в ту сторону шаги. Если кто-то шутит, то мне не смешно.
А кто шутит?
Ты,
Я
Винус.
просто не понимаю, кому...
Алло, ребят, тут кто-то есть? Народ!
The bloggers were already preparing to leave when they were suddenly attacked by a squatter armed with a knife. The aggressive man had taken over the abandoned building and was living there. Here's what happened next.
Кто такие на? Опустили камеру быстро! Быстро, опустили свет! Опусти,
Так, стоп, мужик.
опусти свет! Быстро, блядь! Кто такие?
Ну,
Мы снимаем здесь.
Че, ну, блядь?
для ютуба.
Кто такие? Я тебя спрашиваю.
Просто, мужик, успокойся, просто снимаем.
Че ты просто? Камеру положил сюда быстро.
Все, ничего.
Слышь, положил, я сказал, на землю.
Ладно, Сань, положи камеру.
О, понял, что,
окей,
блядь?
всё.
Нет. Кто такие? Че деретесь? А?
Просто снимаем видео, просто
Да
снимаем
видео.
видео, будем по заброшке снимать.
Делаешь мне, да? Выключи фонарь, не не свети мне, понял?
Ну а в чем проблема?
Слышь, в чем проблема? Че сюда приперся? Вы знаете вообще, чья это территория?
Чья?
Моя, нахуй, ебать. Моя территория, стретесь. А?
Ну, приехали, поснимали, в чем проблема?
Мы уйти можем.
Уйти вы
Без
просто
проблем.
так можете. Ща. О, сука. Чё за пукалка, а? Чё ты убери,
Кунсу убери, нож положи свой.
а, сучи. Опусти камеру.
Не бери камеру.
Камеру, положи камеру. Мужик, алло, послушай, все, давай мы успокоимся. Мы сейчас просто свалим, и проблем нам никаких не нужно.
Проблемы. Сейчас у вас проблемы будут.
Какие у нас проблемы? Ну давай, подойди и строй проблемы мне.
А, сука.
Если нужно, наложим на лицо маску, все, что хочешь. Тебя не видно будет.
Если я, сука, слушай меня, блядь. А? Устроили тут мне, сука, блядь. Если я увижу где-то запись, я вам, сука, понятно, тварь?
Так, успокойся.
Поняли меня?
Успокоился, мужик.
Все, съебались отсюда, быстро забрали все, съебали, поняли? Убери руку, на.
Куда убери руку? С ножом, блядь! С ножом стоит тут!
Ладно, пацаны, пошли.
After that, the group grabbed their equipment and got out of there as quickly as possible. Luckily, the cameraman had a non-lethal pistol with him. Although such a weapon only looks threatening and wouldn't stop a mentally unstable maniac, it was enough to scare him off. As we can see, the footage from this terrifying encounter inside the abandoned hotel still ended up being uploaded to the internet. In March 2022, YouTubers Meg and Chris uploaded a new video to their channel Back in Time MC. In it, they shared footage from their visit to an abandoned farmhouse in the United Kingdom. In the video's caption, they mentioned that they had found an entry point through an open side window. Judging by its neglected state, the farmhouse hadn't been repaired in many years. The floor was covered in leaves and cobwebs, dusty, unused boots, and several dead animals were scattered around. On a bedside table lay shotgun shells. Signs that someone had been there more recently included a relatively new light bulb in one of the bedrooms and a few neatly folded belongings in the closet. Based on the photographs Chris found on the shelves and hanging on the walls, it was clear that a family with at least 4 children once lived here. As they continued their exploration, Meg and Chris went into one of the upstairs bedrooms, where they noticed a surprisingly thin strip of carpet laid out on the floor. What they didn't notice upon entering was that someone was actually asleep in the bed.
Look in that wardrobe.
I'll just squeeze and fuck you. Can I help you?
Oh my god! Fucking hell! You're alive!
You are?
Fucking hell, man!
You live in here. You can't live in here. Yeah?
No!
Can't. What do you mean you can't? Live
We
in
thought it was
here.
abandoned. We thought it was abandoned.
You can't live in here. Yeah.
Holy shit! Are you okay?
Only when they made noise did the woman wake up, startling them. Although her face was blurred out, presumably out of respect, it was obvious from her voice that she was elderly. During their conversation, she explained that she had no relatives who could take her somewhere less bleak. Out of kindness, Meg and Chris kept her company and tried to better understand her situation. She introduced herself as Jane, and for the next 10 minutes, they asked her about her life and how she had ended up in this abandoned farmhouse. Thanks to their compassion, the initial shock of finding an elderly woman asleep in such dire conditions quickly turned into a heartfelt exchange as they talked about each other's lives. Astonishingly, Jane had been living in the derelict farmhouse for nearly 3 decades. Despite offers of food, new clothes, and bedding from others, she always refused, insisting that she was content living as she was. She explained that, although the house was not her property, the farm workers were aware of her presence. They brought her food and water every day. In an emotional moment near the end of their encounter, the couple agreed to visit Jane again soon. It could have been a heartwarming ending, but the caption Chris and Meg added at the end of their video cast a darker shadow over the situation. In it, they explained that they had done some research to uncover the name of the farm and its owner. They even received a message from someone who knew about the farmer. Chris explained that the informant was aware of Jane's living arrangements and the fact that she was cohabiting with the farmer. Despite the obvious hardships, she was being looked after, and she herself had chosen this way of life. Her husband, the informant added, frequently checked on her. Even so, Jane was not someone who easily accepted help from anyone.
We thought
How did you get in?
there's a window that's open downstairs.
Window open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open window. What we do, we
do
take
videos on-
pictures of like old farmhouses because we're really interested in it.
Oh.
We thought it was abandoned because of this.
No.
You live in here.
Oh no.
You live in here. Is there no way you can go and look at it? Do you not think it's a bit...
It is worth noting that Jane may not have been entirely truthful about her circumstances. Although she claimed that the farmer was her only source of support, the informant told Chris that Jane also had a brother who tried to look after her. Chris, skeptical of this information, continued his own investigation. He discovered that the farm did not appear in any land registry records. Furthermore, he found another property listed under Jane's name, which he had owned from 1986 to 2015. When Chris visited that estate, he observed that it was just as neglected and run down as the farmhouse. Having heard two conflicting versions of Jane's story, one from her and one from the informant, Chris decided to reach out to Adult Social Services. In response, he received an email that read, "Good morning. Thank you for your email. I can confirm that Adult Social Services are aware of this lady. However, I cannot provide you with any further information. We appreciate your input and the details you have shared, and we thank you for reaching out with your concerns." Chris asked the person who had contacted him to pass along a message to Jane, letting her know that he and Meg would be happy to visit her again if she wished. After that, there was no further news about the elderly woman, and it is likely that we will never know what became of her. The only thing that can be said with certainty is that if anyone else decides to explore the abandoned farmhouse in the future, they will likely face the same situation that Chris and Meg did. In May 2014, a video was recorded that years later in 2022 was discovered in the forest, buried under soil and leaves. It was uploaded online under the title, "Lost Footage Found Near an Abandoned Hideout." Two teenagers were exploring an abandoned building covered in graffiti. One of them began spray painting over the old markings. That's when they heard a strange sound.
That's weird.
Gosh, you check.
Yeah.
Wait, do you want to keep this or should I take it with me?
Oh, let me keep it. That's some nice graffiti.
At first, they assumed it was just an animal. The second time, however, it made them uneasy. They took turns holding the camera while inspecting the building. The girl stepped outside but didn't see anyone. Yet only a few minutes later, a masked figure suddenly appeared in the doorway, rushing inside and knocking the boy to the ground. He seemed to lose consciousness.
What? What the hell?
Later, he got back up and fled into the forest, dropping the camera along the way. Eventually, he found his friend hiding among the trees, and together they escaped. What exactly happened that day, and why this masked individual attacked the teenagers, remains a mystery.
On the evening of January 20, 2019, 29-year-old Arjun Sood and his wife Jessica put their 7-month-old son Oliver to bed in his nursery at their home in Lake Barrington, Illinois. What they didn't know was that someone else was already in the room with them. It was getting late and Arjun had work in the morning. Like many busy parents, Arjun had set up a Nest baby monitor to check in on Oliver from his phone without getting out of bed. The Nest thermostat was set to 72 so the room would stay comfortable through the night. Arjun had spent roughly $4,000 outfitting the house with Nest products over the years. 17 cameras placed throughout the home and around the exterior, with 2 smart thermostats and a full security system. He was an avid user of the technology and clearly trusted it enough to build much of his home security around it. But shortly after putting Oliver down, Arjun was standing in the hallway outside the nursery when he heard something from inside the room. It sounded like a deep, male voice speaking directly to his son through the camera's speaker. He rushed into the room, but no one was there. He thought maybe it was just an interference with the baby monitor. Stuff like this isn't new, and many electronic devices can pick up distortion of some kind. Still, to be safe, they brought Oliver downstairs. On the way down, Jessica noticed he was extremely distressed and sweating through his clothes, and when she glanced at the thermostat, the temperature had been cranked up to a dangerous 90 degrees. But before they could process what was happening, the voice came back. This time it was coming through a different Nest camera downstairs in the living area, and it was speaking directly to them. The voice was cursing, hurling racial slurs, and taunting them in real time as it watched them through the live feed. When Arjun looked directly at the lens, the voice asked, "Why are you looking at me? I see you watching me." At that point, Arjun realized someone had hacked into their Nest account, which he used to control every camera, thermostat, and every inch of the security system he had spent thousands of dollars building to protect his family. Arjun's first instinct was to yell back at the camera, but he composed himself and started questioning the intruder through the two-way audio.
"Yes, I'm here. Come.
I know you're here. Who are you?"
He tried to extract information on the hacker's whereabouts, asking who they were and which country they were from.
Who is this? Are you just sitting at your computer there? Into my account? Where are you? Which country?
The hacker went quiet without identifying himself or explaining why he had done any of it.
Yeah, who are you? Come on, be a man. Speak up. Nothing? Nothing to say?
The couple disconnected their interior camera in the house and called both the police and Nest customer support. Nest responded by putting the blame on Arjun. They told him the hack had happened because he had reused a password from another site that had been breached, and because he hadn't enabled two-factor authentication, a feature Arjun didn't even know existed. Now, technically they did have a point. Reusing passwords is a real security risk, and two-factor authentication probably would have stopped this. But digging deeper into this, I found the Sood family weren't the only victims attacked through Nest devices. After researching similar incidents, a dozen more cases just as chilling came up. For example, on the same day the Soods were dealing with their hacker, January 20, 2019, a family in Orinda, California had a fake ballistic missile attack warning come blasting through their Nest camera, telling them 3 nuclear missiles were heading for Los Angeles, Chicago, and Ohio.
It came on like the emergency sounds of an Amber Alert, say, and then a man's voice announced that North Korea had launched 3 intercontinental ballistic missiles toward the United States.
Their young son hid under the living room rug thinking the country was under attack. And about a month earlier, on December 17, 2018, parents in Houston woke to the haunting sound of a stranger's voice coming from their 4-month-old's nursery, threatening to kidnap their son and ordering them to turn off the bedroom lights.
He turned that camera on and told us, said, "Turn off the light," and then said, "I'm going to kidnap your baby. I'm in your baby's room."
In every single case, Nest responded by blaming the customers. So why did this keep happening? You see, Nest had quietly added two-factor authentication back in 2017 and barely told anyone. Arjun didn't even know the feature existed because Nest never told him. It took until May 2020, well over a year after all of this happened, for the company to finally make it mandatory, which feels like a quiet admission that leaving the security entirely up to the customer was never the right call. But for Arjun, the scariest part wasn't about how the hacker got in. It was how Nest's cameras gave no real warning when someone else was watching the feed. A handful of them had a small blue light, but it only switched on when the intruder started talking. A hacker could watch and listen for hours, and the family would never know. The only reason the Soods knew they'd been compromised was because the hacker chose to speak. In the end, the hacker was never identified, and no arrest was ever made. On the afternoon of April 23, 2020, Shauna Dottie received a phone call from her home security company, ADT. They had called to tell her that for the last 6 years, every dollar she had paid them to keep her family safe had done the exact opposite. Back in 2014, Shauna and her husband Randy were living with their young son in the suburbs of the Dallas-Fort Worth area and wanted the peace of mind to keep an eye on the house from anywhere. ADT's Pulse system, with indoor cameras, motion alerts, and a cell phone app sounded like exactly what they were after. A few weeks after they placed the order, a technician from ADT showed up at their front door. He looked at the layout and mounted a wide-angle indoor camera that covered most of the ground floor, the family room, the entryway, the dining area, and the staircase. The lens also reached into the master bedroom and the corner of the bathroom. He walked Shauna through the app on her phone. Before he left, he told her he needed to add his own email to the account, only briefly to check if the connection was working. For the next 6 years, the system worked exactly the way it was supposed to, and the Dotties had no reason to think about that afternoon again, until they received that call from ADT on April 23, 2020. The employee calling told Shauna that the technician who had installed her camera back in 2014 had granted himself remote access to it on the installing day, and that access was never removed. He had been using it to view footage from inside the Dotties' home ever since. When Sean asked what he had been seeing, the employee had no answers. They couldn't name him and wouldn't say how many times he had logged in.
7 hours is a long time, but we're talking 7 years. You don't know what to think. So you find yourself just trying to go back, like, okay, what were we doing this time?
Unfortunately, the Dotties weren't the only family getting the ADT call. They were one of more than 200 plus. A few weeks earlier, another ADT customer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area was going through their Pulse account settings when they noticed an email attached to it that didn't belong to anyone in the house. Naturally, they called ADT to ask what it was doing there. When the company looked into it, they found that the same email was attached to 220 separate customer accounts across the metropolitan area. And every one of those systems had been installed or serviced by the same technician at some point. Which raised the obvious question. How does one technician end up signed into 220 homes? The answer was buried in ADT's own software. Technicians are allowed to temporarily attach their personal email to a customer's account during install. It's a diagnostic feature meant to verify the camera feed before they leave. So, every time he serviced or installed a system, he either gave the same diagnostic excuse or didn't bother explaining at all. But he never removed his email, so the Pulse app on his personal phone kept him signed in as a co-owner of these homes. Now, some could argue this was just sloppy work, a tech forgetting to clean up after himself. Once or twice, sure, but more than 200 times is not a coincidence. So how did this slip past ADT for so long? It turned out ADT didn't have any system in place to catch such a massive breach of privacy. The company never alerted its customers and didn't even have an automated check flagging the same email showing up on dozens of accounts, which meant he could keep logging in whenever he wanted. In April 2016, the same technician installed a system at the home of a couple with 2 young daughters. The camera covered the living room and the kitchen. Court records would later show he logged into that account 322 times. At another household, one where 5 children under the age of 18 lived, he logged in 361 times. In September 2017, he set up a Pulse system for the Preddy family. Their teenage daughter Alexia wasn't comfortable with indoor cameras, and she told her mother this on the day of the installation. But the ADT technician assured them that the system was perfectly safe. Years later, when the full scope of the breach came to light, ADT found that he had accessed the Preddy family's live footage almost 100 times during the years Alexia was still a teenager. Court filings would later show the wide-angle lens and its placement allowed him to view her undressed, getting ready for bed, and during moments of physical intimacy. This technician was Telesforo Aviles. He was 35 years old, married, and the father of 5 children of his own. He'd been with ADT for 17 years, and by 2020 was working as a senior supervisor in the Dallas-Fort Worth region. On May 18, 2020, Shauna Dottie and Alexia Preddy each filed federal lawsuits against ADT, accusing the company of allowing Aviles to exploit its Pulse system and spy on customers through their own home cameras. Soon after, more lawsuits followed from other victims. In the federal case, Aviles admitted that he took note of households with women he found attractive and repeatedly targeted homes of young women and married couples with daughters. He would open the Pulse app on his personal phone, scroll through the list of homes attached to his email, and watch for live footage of any private moments. Across the 4.5 years covered by his federal plea agreement, prosecutors counted more than 9,600 unauthorized logins across roughly 200 accounts. That works out to 5 or 6 logins a day, every day, for over 4 years. Aviles pleaded guilty to computer fraud in January 2021 and was sentenced to 52 months in federal prison that June. ADT had revoked his access to all 220 accounts months earlier, but the only person who knew exactly what he had seen and in which homes was Aviles himself. On the evening of September 30, 2017, a young Dutch woman named Rilana Hamer came home from the supermarket and started unpacking her groceries. She lived alone in a small house in Bremen, a quiet town in the eastern Netherlands, with her dog. Rilana had recently bought a small indoor security camera from her local discount store for around 35 euros. It was a Maxter ACT IPC01, a white plastic unit with a motorized base that could rotate across the room. She set up the camera on a shelf in her living room, figuring it would be easy to check on her dog throughout the day. The camera also had a built-in speaker, which let her talk to the dog even when she wasn't home. That evening, she was putting her groceries away when she heard a low, mechanical voice from the living room. When she went to look, she saw the camera rotating on its base, slowly turning back and forth on its own. Her phone was the only thing she used to control it, and that was on her bed in the next room. Figuring it was just an updating glitch, she went back to the kitchen. But a few minutes later, the sound came back. This time, the camera turned and pointed directly at her, and a man's voice came through the speaker. It said, "Bonjour, madam." Staying composed, Rilana asked who was there, but no one answered. To see if the voice would speak again, Rilana moved to the side and noticed that the camera was following her. That's when the voice came through again, this time saying, "Hello, madam. Is everything all right?" She immediately ran across the room and pulled the plug from the socket. Later that evening, a friend came over for dinner. Rilana told her what had happened, and the two of them decided to test the camera again. They placed it back on the table and plugged it in as Rilana held her phone to record. It took less than a minute before the camera rotated on its own and found her again.
What did you do?
Soon, the voice came back.
It's not. No! Get the out of my house, now! Shut the up! Shut the up of my house, now! Go away! Hola, señorita. Yeah, you.
Rilana posted the video on her Facebook account, where it went viral immediately. By the start of the next week, Dutch national news had picked up the story. When a tech journalist looked into Rilana's video days later, the explanation turned out to be disturbingly simple. Every camera the manufacturer shipped came with the same default password, 123, along with the device ID printed on a sticker underneath each unit. With just those two things and the free app, anyone in the world could connect to any of these cameras, watch the live feed, listen through the microphone, and talk through the speaker. Looking up the manual for this camera, it does mention that the default password is weak and recommends changing it before use. But nowhere in the app itself, the thing you actually interact with during setup, did it ever tell the users to do that. Few people read the full manual for a €35 camera from a discount store. You just download the app and start. So Rilana never knew that she had to change the password, and she was far from the only one. When the tech journalist tried connecting to other cameras from the same manufacturer, he got into 4 unsuspecting households within minutes, using nothing but the manual and the free app. Each one of those people, just like Rilana, had no idea anyone else was watching. In late 2010, Ferial Nijam woke up in the middle of the night to heavy metal music playing at full volume through every speaker in her house. Confused and disoriented, she didn't know how it had turned on. And despite her trying, the volume level didn't go down, as if someone else was controlling the sound system. But there was no one home except her that night. Ferial was a Canadian fashion model who had spent most of her adult life around cameras. She had walked at the Berlin Film Festival in the mid-2000s and built a career where she was looked at on her own terms. By her late 30s, she was in a long-term relationship with a partner who lived in the States. He was, in her words, quietly controlling. According to her, he wouldn't just touch base with a text, he would call me on FaceTime and ask to say hi to the person I was with. At the time, she thought it was attentiveness, and she trusted him enough that she eventually moved into his home in the US. It was an impressively designed house with a high-tech smart home system which covered everything on the property, from lights, heating, blinds, security cameras, to the sound system. All of it ran through a single integrated platform her partner had set up. For someone who'd spent her career around cameras and production sets, living with so much technology around didn't feel unusual. But sometime during the 2010s, the relationship started to fall apart. Her partner moved to a different city, while Ferial stayed behind in his house, with his credentials still running everything around her. And that's when things started getting strange. She'd fall asleep at a normal hour and get jolted awake by sound blasting through every room.
You're asleep in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden, over the sound system, comes this blaring music that startles you awake. That's what would happen to me.
By the time she was on her feet, it would cut out just as suddenly as it had started, and she'd be left standing in a dark, silent house with no explanation. Soon enough, the lights started to behave in a similar way. She'd switch them off for bed, and they'd flick back on, sometimes flickering for several seconds before stabilizing. She would experience the same with her TVs, which would switch on by themselves and shut back off as soon as she got near the remote. At first, she tried telling herself it was just the system acting up. It was a big house, and every inch of it was wired with technology, so some level of glitching was expected. But even then, she couldn't help shake off the feeling that something was off. In an interview with CBC's Marketplace, she said, "It's almost as if the house is haunted." Sadly, in a way, she was right. It started when she began receiving messages from her ex. They mentioned things he should have never known, like what she had been wearing earlier or who she had been with when she walked through the front door. He'd been using every piece of smart tech in the house to watch her and remind her he was still there. On more than one occasion, he'd also sent her direct threats.
Get out of my house. I need you to stop manipulating the lights.
I'm not touching the lights.
What is wrong? Just can you please leave me alone? You're not supposed to call me. I'm not bothering you.
I am going after the dogs. And then I'm going after you.
For someone who had spent her entire life controlling exactly how and when she was seen, being watched in her own home without ever knowing felt like a different kind of violation entirely.
He was able to monitor me, using our security surveillance cameras, even remotely, from thousands of miles away.
Ferial tried to shut the system down, but her partner had configured everything from the start and held all the logging credentials. Left with no other options, she contacted the local police and explained everything. Unfortunately, the response she received only deepened the sense that she had nowhere left to turn. The home wasn't in her name, and as far as the responding officers were concerned, that was where the matter ended. In the end, Ferial realized that her only real way out was to leave the home behind entirely. She gathered her dogs and made her way to a local women's shelter. On the 8th of August 2025, a woman named Brenda took her Ring doorbell camera off its mount and brought it inside her house to charge. It was something she did every few weeks. The camera ran on a battery, and recharging it was a routine part of owning one. But this time, she noticed something strange about the camera. The blue ring of light around the lens was on. On a Ring doorbell, that light only comes on when the camera is actively streaming, recording, or in the middle of a live two-way call with someone signed into the account. None of which should have been the case while the device was unmounted and sitting indoors. So Brenda picked it up to see what was going on. And that's when she started hearing a voice coming through the doorbell speaker.
It's you! I see you!
Someone was speaking through the device in real time. And by the way they were laughing, it's clear that it wasn't someone who'd accidentally connected to the wrong camera. Whoever it was, they were taking their time terrorizing Brenda. Brenda pulled out her phone and managed to record only some of the interaction. But the voice went silent within a few seconds, and the blue light switched off shortly after. She later posted the video on her TikTok account. The comment section was flooded with people who couldn't believe how easily someone could gain access to a Ring device, along with others sharing similar experiences. One comment read, "I have cameras all over my house, and I have one in my bedroom. And a few days after I got them, I was sleeping and got woken up by someone snoring through my camera. And it wasn't no one in my house because I didn't log into anyone else's phone yet because I just set them up." By now, the pattern should sound familiar. Just like the Maxter cameras Rilana had set up in her living room, a doorbell camera is only as secure as the password protecting the account behind it. A weak or reused password is often all it takes. And if you look at every case in this video, this exact vulnerability keeps showing up, regardless of the brand, price, or how trusted the company is. So that's also what most likely happened here. Now, as I was researching this case, I found multiple people in the comments suggesting a different theory. They argued that what Brenda heard wasn't a stalker at all, but signal interference from someone else's baby monitor bleeding into her doorbell, and that the voice on the audio sounded a lot like a dad talking to his baby. This theory sounds plausible at first. Wireless devices do cross signals all the time, and analog baby monitors are notorious for picking up audio from neighboring devices operating on similar radio frequencies. But Ring devices aren't analog based. They work by connecting to your home's Wi-Fi network and streaming audio and video through Ring's own encrypted servers. So any sound that comes through the doorbell speaker has to be sent through the Ring app first, by someone logged into the account. In other words, for a man's voice to come through Brenda's doorbell speaker clearly and in full conversation, someone had to be on the other end of the Ring app with full access to her device. This happened one winter night at my friend Luke's house. We'd planned to have a sleepover since both of Luke's parents were out of town for their anniversary. It was probably about midnight when the two of us got bored and figured we'd go downstairs to the house's unfinished basement where Luke's family computer was. The computer was really old and huge in comparison to what we have today, so naturally it was also extremely slow. But we could still visit many popular websites at the time, so long as we had enough patience for them to fully load. One we would visit quite often was called Omegle. As far as I know, this site is still really popular today. It's basically an online video chat room type site where you get paired up with random strangers. You talk to someone until you get bored, and then you skip to the next person. That's all there really is to it. We did this for a few minutes and met a few different people, but nothing really of note. Now, this was around the time when Omegle first added the feature where you could input your interests and get paired up with people who put in the same interests as you. We both thought it would be funny to put in the name of our town. We did this and then clicked the start a chat button. It took a minute to find someone to connect us with, but eventually the loading circle went away and the chat showed the usual "you're now chatting with a random stranger" message. The other person's video screen was just black, which kinda caught us both off guard. The two of us both squinted our eyes and got closer to the screen. We even turned up the brightness all the way in the computer's settings, thinking it was an issue on our side. But it was still just complete blackness. Luke took over the keyboard and started typing in the chat. "Hey dude, I think you forgot to turn on your webcam." Almost instantly a reply came back. It was a link, a really long one consisting almost entirely of just random nonsense characters. If it weren't for the blue color and underline, I honestly probably would have thought it was just text. Luke moved the mouse over it and looked at me, before looking back at the screen and clicking it. A new tab opened. It was completely black, just like the guy's video feed. We started randomly clicking around the site to see if there was anything to it, though nothing happened. We clicked back to the Omegle tab and were about to ask what the site even was, but before we could, we noticed another chat message had been sent.
"I can see you guys."
Luke typed back some smartass response like, "Yeah, cause our camera actually works, unlike yours." I guess that did it, because a few seconds later and the loading screen once again showed up, followed by another random stranger, meaning whoever that was had disconnected the chat. We continued talking to a few other people for a while longer. Eventually, this scratching sound came from the speakers. It wasn't coming from Omegle. We started flipping through the few tabs we had opened in the hopes of finding which one was producing the sound. That's when we came to the tab we had opened earlier. It was no longer black. A video was playing, and it now looked like a road of some sort. We could even see a couple cars passing by, but there was no one else around. We continued watching as the camera began walking down the street, passing by trees and dimly lit gas stations and closed shops. Finally, the camera turned into a small suburb. My heart dropped when I recognized the location. It was about a quarter mile from where we were. The camera turned from street to street, hiding behind trees and streetlights. Our eyes were glued to the screen as we both prayed it would make a wrong turn. Finally, it rested on one house at the end of a cul-de-sac. It was Luke's house. Luke and I locked eyes with each other. We both sprinted to the top of the stairs and locked the door leading to the basement. We then turned off all the lights down there. When we returned to the computer screen, the camera was now in the backyard. It was like it was searching for something. It then stopped on a flower pot. A hand reached out in front of the camera and pulled out a hidden spare key to the house. Panicked, I held my finger on the power button to the computer and the screen went black. We now sat in complete darkness. We hid under the desk and just listened. The familiar creaking from the back door echoed out from upstairs. Heavy footsteps followed. This had to have gone on for at least 10 minutes, during which there was nothing we could do. The home phone was back upstairs. Eventually, the footsteps came right up to the downstairs door. We could hear the handle slowly turn until it was stopped by the lock. The footsteps walked away and faded into complete silence. We waited there for an hour, when finally we built up the courage to unlock the basement door and make a run for the phone. And that's exactly what we did. We made it back to the basement and relocked the door immediately. We dialed 911 and explained our situation to the operator as best as we could. To sum up the rest of the night, police showed up and searched the entire house. Nothing was found out of place or missing. Well, nothing but the spare key in the backyard. That was still gone. Luke's parents were informed of the break-in, and in the end, all they did was change all the locks on the doors to their house. To be honest, I don't think they really ever fully understood the whole situation, or what we saw that night. Luke and I haven't used any kind of online random chat room ever since. I was 16 and had just gotten my license when this happened. Back then, I used to spend a lot of my nights online in different chat rooms around the internet. This was back when old school chat rooms were all the rage. One room I visited frequently was a chat room specifically for users in my local area. This is where I first met a girl named Julie. We spent a few nights chatting and getting to know each other. I soon sent her a picture of what it looked like and she did the same. I won't lie, I was really into her. She was definitely my type. This went on for maybe 2 weeks until one night in particular. We were texting back and forth like usual when she asked me to come over. She lived about an hour away, but like I said, I had just gotten my license and I actually liked her, so I jumped at the chance to meet her in person. The plan was that I would pick her up at her house and from there we'd go to IHOP, because it was already late and that was pretty much the only place around there that stayed open 24 hours. I got ready and started making the drive to the address she gave me. I was both excited and nervous at the same time. The whole drive took a bit longer than expected, but sure enough, I soon arrived at her place. It was an old farmhouse in what felt like the exact middle of a cornfield. This wasn't uncommon where I lived. I guess I was just a bit confused as to how the house got internet way out here. I walked up to the porch and knocked on the front door. A light quickly turned on from inside and the front door opened. The person standing in front of me was not Julie. Rather, it was some guy much bigger than me who I'd never seen before. I told him I was here to pick up Julie. He nodded his head and introduced himself as her dad. The only problem is the guy looked like he was still in college. Regardless, I shook his hand and introduced myself. He gestured me inside, and me wanting to make a good impression, I walked in. We sat down in the dining room of the house, and I asked him if Julie was here. At first, he dodged the question, but after asking a couple more times, he told me she was at work and would be home in a few minutes. Our conversation then veered towards where I live, but he wasn't exactly asking me. He was more so speaking in a way as to confirm this information which I had only told Julie. I started legitimately sweating and nervously looking around. That's when I saw two silhouettes walking past one of the windows outside near the back of the house. I could tell the man knew I was suspicious, so right then and there I shot up without saying a word and sprinted outside and back to my parked car. There's no doubt I was chased, but I was much faster than the guy. I got in my car and pushed the pedal to the floor back the way I came. Just as I was gaining speed, my headlights revealed a shiny silver object over the floor of the road in front of me. It was a spike strip. I swerved towards the cornfield and somehow was able to miss it. I got back on the road and looked in my rearview mirror. 3 silhouettes were chasing me, but slowed pace when they saw that I missed the strip. I got back to a main road, and the harrowing reality that Julie wasn't real, and that I could have almost just been killed slowly started to set in. When I got home, I had one new message from Julie's account. "Where'd you go? Come back." I didn't respond to this message. I was in my second year of college at the time. I lived with my dog in a small cheap house that wasn't too far away from my school's campus. I had planned to live with a few other friends to help cut down on the rent, but shortly before the school year started, those plans fell through. The isolation was manageable, it's just the amount of rent I had to pay that was slowly killing me. Anyway, back then, online chat room websites were really in their prime. Audio and even video sites were slowly becoming a normal thing. Ever since I got my laptop for school, I would often use it to visit these sites. I met a lot of different people, some who I still call good friends to this day. One night, I got home from one of my night classes, and like usual got on my laptop to join voice chats in servers with people that had similar interests as me. This went on for a while, until after a couple hours when I met a guy called Chris. We talked for around 45 minutes, just general college stuff, nothing too specific. It turns out he went to one of my school's rival schools, which gave us a lot to talk about. At one point, I casually mentioned how my computer was acting up. Chris told me he was studying IT and offered to help me fix the issue. I agreed, and he gave me a link telling me to install the application it led me to. I was unfamiliar with the site, but nothing about it yelled sketchy, so I installed it. Chris walked me through a few extra steps. It was a weird experience. The application allowed him to literally control my mouse and do whatever he needed to on my computer. I sat back and watched as he got to work trying to fix the issue. After a while, I had to step out to let my dog back inside the house for the night. I was gone for only a few minutes. Just as I stepped back in my room, I noticed something on the laptop quickly being closed out. I dismissed it as Chris just doing what he needed to do. I asked him if the issue was fixed, and he said yeah, that it was. I thanked him and told him I was going to go to bed, because it was now starting to get really late. I thought he was actually pretty cool, so before I left, we scheduled another time to talk. After that, I closed out of everything, put my laptop to sleep, and went to bed. I slept for a few hours. When I opened my eyes, it was still dark outside. I checked the time. 3:30 a.m. My whole room was lit up by my laptop screen, which I believe is what woke me up. I sat up, trying to understand how it could have turned on by itself. I got out of bed and sat down in front of the screen. It was just sitting there on the desktop showing my background. I tried to move the mouse to put it back to sleep, but it wasn't responding. The mouse was frozen. Frustrated, I began continually clicking the mouse trying to unfreeze it. Nothing was working. An image then popped up and covered the whole screen. It was dark. My eyes had to take a second to adjust to it. Soon I realized that it was a picture of my empty room, like as if the laptop's camera had taken it. I pressed the escape key. I even tried Ctrl-Alt-Delete, but none of it was doing anything. Then another image appeared. This time it was a picture of me. It looked like it had just been taken. My heartbeat was picking up speed and was getting louder in my ears. I finally looked up at the laptop's camera. The small light next to it was now on, indicating that it was being used. Then a video appeared on the screen with a play button in the middle of it. It was me again, now with a horrified expression on my face. The mouse started moving by itself towards the play button. It clicked it and the video started as I desperately put one hand over the camera and the other holding the power button. I held the power button for about 15 seconds when one final image appeared on the screen. It only showed for a brief second before the laptop finally powered off and the screen went black, but I could still tell exactly what the image was of. It was a low-quality picture of the outside of my house in the dark. I sat there frozen, taking in what I had just seen. Breaking the silence was the sound of my dog aggressively barking from downstairs. Knowing my dog rarely ever does this, I panicked at the thought of someone trying to break into my house. This would never end up happening, however. My dog's barking slowly stopped and the rest of the night was just silence. The next morning, I moved all of my stuff into a hotel and stayed there until I found a new place to live, purely out of fear that someone would come back to that house. I never talked to Chris again, and I still don't know what was done to that laptop. I had school files on that thing that weren't backed up, but I couldn't bring myself to turn it back on. I accepted that they were gone. I ended up setting that laptop on fire and burning it completely.
And I know it's gonna be.
This first dashcam video was captured in Australia. Two men in a Mercedes are driving down the highway when, through their rear dashcam, a car is seen quickly approaching. It then swerves around the two guys before getting in front of them and slamming on the brakes, clearly trying to run them off the road. But what first could be written off as road rage soon takes a more serious and disturbing turn. The two men notice the driver has an axe and is now waving it out his window and threatening them.
Oh, he's got an axe, dude. Like, what are you doing? Oh, keep distance, bro. Bro, call the car. Yeah, calm down.
The sudden and unexpected encounter forces the two men to take a quick U-turn to lose the guy, but he continues to follow them. The situation is then taken even further when the two use the next exit and approach a roundabout.
Whoa! Keep driving, holy! Man, call the cops. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh, keep going. Just keep. Oh my God!
2 times the Mercedes is rear-ended, the second of which causes the attacker to spin out, sending him off the road. This allowed the 2 guys to get away. They would then drive to the nearest police station, where they would report what had just happened. When police arrived at the scene of the crash, the car was gone. However, a few hours later, they would find the vehicle on the road, and from there the driver was arrested. Later, the owner of the dashcam footage would give the video more context. Apparently, the driver chasing them, for whatever reason, was 100% convinced they had robbed his house the night before. But obviously this wasn't the case. The 2 guys had never before even seen the man. It was determined that he was under the influence of something. He would be charged with multiple offenses, which put him in prison for 2 years. In August of 2018, Justin Bilton and his 70-year-old father were camping at Glacier National Park in Montana. They had only been in the park for 3 hours when they were informed of an immediate evacuation of the area. A forest fire ignited by lightning the previous night had gotten too far out of control. However, by the time they got the evacuation notice, unknown to them, the only road out of the park had already been engulfed by the fire.
Do I go?
We're gonna find out up here in a minute, aren't we? I think we can drive through this.
What? Dad, what if the car blows up? Dad, this is insane.
I know. We don't want to get trapped in here. Easy. All right, we're good. Slow down. There's a big rut here. Just slow down. We're out of that fire.
We're not out of that, Dad. We're not out.
We're good, though.
What?
Easy. Can't see. Just go easy now. Easy.
Dad, the car's heating up. It's gonna explode.
We're all right.
Dad, what if a tree falls on us?
We're okay.
Please, God, help us.
You're doing good.
Oh my God. Dad, we can't get out.
I'm getting out. You can't drive back. We get that out of the road. We get gloves.
Oh my God.
Stop.
Dad, we gotta get out of here.
Back it up.
A fallen tree is seen directly in the middle of the road, trapping them inside the park. They had nowhere to go but back, so they ended up reversing through everything they had just went through. When they reached their campsite, they abandoned their car and desperately started running towards a nearby lake. By some miracle, there they would find 2 park employees in a boat on the shore of the lake. Justin and his father were rescued and taken to safety, leaving everything but this horrifying footage behind. This dashcam footage shows the armed robbery of a cab driver. The driver, Ralph Valletta, had just started his shift. This was his first ride of the day. He was stopped at a light, and the rider can be seen in the back slouched down. But abruptly, he sits up and demands Ralph give him everything he has.
This is a robbery, man. Right. Hey, give me all your money, man.
Man, I don't.
Give me everything you got. Give me it now. All right. I need it now. All right. We can make this the easy way, or we can make this the hard way, man.
Everything I got, man.
Keep your hand where I can see him.
I just started.
What else you got?
I just started.
Let me see your wallet. Let me see your.
I don't have anything in my wallet.
We can do this the hard way, or we can do this the easy way, man. Let me see your wallet and let me see your phone. I need it all right now. If you don't want to die, man.
Okay.
Give it all to me now.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to the rider, a police cruiser was stopped at the same light directly behind them. At some point during the robbery, the light to the lane they were in had turned green, and seeing that they weren't moving, the officer put on his lights and got out to investigate.
Don't have anything in my wallet. I don't carry
it. Your wallet and your phone. I need your wallet.
No, please don't give me my phone. I need that for my. There's a cop behind us. There's a cop behind us. Get out.
Almost immediately, the officer would realize that a robbery was taking place, so in response, he would order the rider out of the car where he would then be detained. The rider was arrested and later charged with multiple offenses. In April of 2021, a man named Mitch Kuhn was driving on the highway back from work when he saw this. A child that looks to be wearing a large jacket, or that's possibly wrapped in a blanket, begins walking out in the middle of the highway, just barely missing Mitch's truck. Mitch was towing a trailer and felt that if he abruptly stopped it would cause an accident, so instead he opted to call the police, reporting an unattended child walking on the highway. Police assured Mitch that they'd send out patrol units immediately. An hour later, Mitch called again for a follow-up, as well as to offer the footage he had caught on his dashcam, but he was told that it wouldn't be necessary, as the child had been collected safely and was on his way home. However, strangely, police would later state that no child was found despite officers searching the area until 3:45 a.m. Additionally, they would claim that at no point did they tell Mitch that they had found the child. The next morning, multiple volunteers commenced a search of the area, but no child was ever found, and therefore the search eventually ended. At the time the footage was captured, there were no reports of a missing child in the area. It remains unknown who exactly was captured in this video. This dashcam footage was captured in the streets of Taiwan. Right away, it's clear the video takes place in the midst of a storm where the winds are strong enough to throw around debris. At one point, debris is even seen flying against the windshield. But little did the drivers know that an actual tornado was forming right behind them and quickly heading in their direction. The dashcam footage captures the exact moment the tornado went directly through them. It was even strong enough to lift vehicles off the ground, which can actually be seen with the white van that pulls out onto the road. The wheels of the vehicle leave the ground, and it begins to get full-on dragged by the tornado, seemingly disappearing. But once the tornado passes, it can be seen much further down the road, wedged in between two trees. More concerning, however, is the person that gets thrown by the tornado on the right side of the road. Unfortunately, this woman would suffer major injuries and would be taken to the hospital. The storm would go on to produce further damage in the form of 50 inches of rain that would cause multiple deadly landslides. This video was taken in Russia. It shows the dashcam footage of a man driving down a desolate and long stretch of dirt road. Then, up ahead is a car parked in such a way so as to block traffic. Two men with baseball bats begin walking up to the driver, and that's when it becomes clear that this is a robbery, and the parked car was an intentional makeshift roadblock. The driver tries to escape, but the two men get in the way and do their best to prevent it. Fortunately, the driver had a window of opportunity and took advantage. He slammed on the gas and was able to get away unscathed. He then drove around the roadblock and was free. It's unknown if the two men with baseball bats were ever caught. In late November of 2015, a large catastrophic bushfire broke out in South Australia. This dashcam footage was captured by one of the fire trucks responding to the incident. Right from the start of the video, enormous smoke clouds are shown, depicting just how large the fire had gotten. As the trucks continue forward, visibility gradually worsens. It gets so bad to where the fire trucks are forced to stop. Then, in the distance, the fire itself can be seen, spreading towards them unnervingly fast.
Here it comes, the hit's coming. Nick, slow down. We're going to go in a burnover very, very quickly now. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Turn. 500 meters. Burn over, Scotty, burn over. Burn over, Scotty. Jesus Christ.
A miscommunication between the two trucks resulted in a collision. The truck in the front was attempting to back up out of the fire, while the truck with the dashcam was entering what's known as a burnover. A burnover is a fire truck protection protocol where the truck stays in place and the crew deploys Velcro blankets to protect themselves from the heat. Water is sprayed outside of the vehicle to keep it from catching on fire, and in the inside, breathing masks are used by the crew. During this protocol, however, the crew from the truck in the front can be heard desperately explaining how they didn't have water for a burnover, or rather their truck's sprinkler system wasn't working properly. They couldn't stay in place and were forced to drive forward in the hopes of escaping the fire, which you can actually see in the video as the truck fades into the distance. Fortunately, this move would end up saving their lives. They would make it to the other side of the fire, and everyone inside the truck, as well as the one with the dash cam, would make it out with minimal injuries. This footage was captured way back in 2012. It takes place near an airport in Moscow, Russia. The airport is right next to a highway, and on December 29th, this dashcam footage would capture the disturbing moments a plane missed the runway and crash-landed just on the right side of the highway. It turns out the plane had mistakenly overshot the runway because of bad weather conditions, so when it landed it didn't have enough room to brake. This left it no choice but to go directly into the highway, causing plane seats and other debris to shoot towards passing vehicles, all of which can be clearly seen in the footage. At the time of the crash, the plane was only carrying crew members. No passengers were on board. But unfortunately, 5 of the 8 total crew members would lose their lives. The driver of the vehicle with the dashcam would make it out unharmed.
There's literally somebody outside, like, dragging a bag at my work. I can't see his face. Where's he going? He's literally running down to the door.
In this first video, you can see the footage from a Ring doorbell capture a man by the name Jeremy Lewag. In the video, you can see the man clearly concealing something behind his back as he tries to get whoever's inside to open the door. It turned out the man was carrying a loaded handgun, going around the apartment building knocking on several doors. Police would receive multiple calls that night, describing a man doing just that, knocking and yelling at their doors.
Circle! Hey, all I want is Flacco back, that's it.
Later that night, police would arrive to conduct a welfare check at Jeremy's apartment door. A body camera on one of the police officers clearly shows as Jeremy pulls out his weapon pointing it at the officer. This would of course force the officer to shoot in response.
Yo, hey man, is that your Challenger down there? Is that your Dodge Challenger?
What?
I'm just asking, is that your Dodge Challenger down there?
No, what?
Because it's just, that's registered to you.
Nope.
It's not?
No.
Come out here.
No, sir.
Come out
here.
Hey, what are you doing? Let me see your hand.
Jeremy would make a recovery, as the wounds he received weren't life-threatening. This next video comes from TikTok user MattHall36. The video features Matt at his work after hours filming some security cameras while talking on the phone with police. As he's doing so, you can see as some man is clearly shown disturbingly dragging a large unknown bag down the road. As he gets closer, the man shockingly drops what he's doing and full-on sprints towards the door, slamming his body into it. Matt, now clearly shaken, can be heard begging the police to just show up.
There's literally somebody outside, like, dragging a bag at my work. No, sorry, I'm just recording in case something happens. I can't see his face. Where's he going? He's literally running down to the door. He's coming up to the door right now. Is he? Ah! Oh my! He's outside the door. He's outside the door right now. No, there's nowhere to hide in here. I'm literally, it's just this one room. The door is locked, but He's like behind the building now. I don't, can you just get here, please?
Following the first TikTok video, Matt would upload a second part explaining the whole situation in more detail.
Part 2. So yeah, I was working night shift at work, and the security cameras we have beep when it senses motion. It was pretty late at night and I heard the beep go off, so I went to go look at the camera. Somebody was dragging a bag right beside the building. I was pretty creeped out, so I went and grabbed the work phone and called 911. By the time I was on the phone with them, the guy walked up the road a little bit, but then he started to come back towards the building. This is when I started recording. After the video ended, he ran out of sight of the camera. I never seen him again after that. A bunch of cops came, they told me to stay in the building, and they searched the area for him. They said inside his bag just had a bunch of clothes, but some of the clothes had some blood on them, I guess. Anyways, they're gonna take that in for investigation. They took the security camera footage, and of course they sent me home that night because they didn't find him. But yeah, that's all I know so far. Hope that's a good enough update.
Missy Beavers was a fitness instructor and mother of 3. On April 18, 2016, she was scheduled to lead a 5 a.m. early morning fitness class at a church in Texas. Though, upon her arrival, she would never be seen again. As police investigated, they found out that at around 4 a.m., the motion-activated security cameras from the church activated. They showed an unidentified man oddly walking around the building holding a hammer. The man can clearly be seen checking rooms and walking back and forth down the hallways. Police believe this man is the murderer of Missy Beavers. Neither of the two have ever been seen again. In this video, you can see as the teacher is teaching his online class. The teacher would later claim he was home alone, but while teaching his class, disturbingly, an unidentified pale face can be seen peeking around a corner behind him. Throughout the video, the man can be seen peeking around his shoulder as if he hears something, but never actually sees anything. Eventually, the man would close the door, as he seems to feel uneasy. Later in the video, upon the request of his students, the teacher would pick up his laptop to show he and his dog were the only ones home. To this day, it's unclear whether the video features some intruder or something else.
Tanto el movimiento no existe, relacionado con lo que dice Raúl, el gato de... No me suena la... Es decir, si nosotros estamos estudiando matemáticas, el primer parcial, el primer tetra, vamos a ver filosofía de las matemáticas. Hola. Estoy solo, estoy con mi perro. Por ahí, en ocasiones, las llamadas paradojas. ¿Alguien sabe qué es una paradoja?
This next video features a security camera disturbingly showing a man grasping a child in his arms while running down the sidewalk. Police say the man had just grabbed the child from a nearby park and can be seen only moments after running away. Later, the video shows as the child's 2 older siblings start running after him. 2 other kids would notice what was happening and join in running after the man. Luckily, the kid was never hurt, and the man was later arrested. Though, even still, the whole scene is pretty disturbing.
A gentleman walked into the park where the kids were playing, walked up and had a small conversation with 2 kids that are 8 and 10 years of age. After a brief conversation, the suspect reached into the area where the baby was laying and picked it up. At that point, the gentleman ran northbound down the streets of Sprague for approximately 2 blocks.
In March 2016, a YouTube channel by the name Joe Earl Lamock uploaded a pretty disturbing video. The video features Ring doorbell camera footage of a man supposedly trying to sell a bike to the house owner. While the man is at the door, he can be seen making very odd hand gestures, and at times even whispering to himself. Finally, the house owner goes on the doorbell speaker asking if he can help the man. The man explains how he's trying to sell his bike so he can borrow some money. Overall, a really weird and disturbing encounter.
Yes, can I help you?
Hey, dude. I'm gonna be real. Dude, I'm trying to sell a bike for some cash so I can buy some money. And that's all. The bike's right here.
It's all good.
For real, bro? Alright. He's right.
This is the dashcam footage of rookie Delaware State Police Trooper Hassan Hollis. Hassan was stationed on a highway on-ramp right next to a stalled vehicle waiting for a tow truck to arrive when he spotted a red Buick Regal. Only minutes before, a radio call had gone out for all officers in the area to be on the lookout for a vehicle that matched that very description, as it was linked to a possible kidnapping. Hassan quickly ditched the stalled vehicle and began chasing it down the highway. After a few moments, he caught up to it and got right behind it. The license plate matched up. Hassan then radioed for backup and began pulling the vehicle over using extreme caution.
Yeah. Yes. Where? In the car. Stop the truck. Whoever's in the truck, get out of the truck. Go to the back seat now.
Inside the vehicle was 35-year-old Lewis Coleman. When asked if anyone else was in the vehicle, Lewis would explain how someone was in the trunk. Upon opening the trunk, police would find the remains of Jassy Correia inside of a suitcase. A suitcase which Lewis was later found to have purchased only a couple days earlier at a nearby Walmart. Along with this, he also purchased other items, such as duct tape, surgical gloves, and safety goggles. The unfortunate events were believed to have started at a nightclub hundreds of miles away where Jassy Correia was last seen. It's thought that this is where Lewis had lured her inside of his car. Upon being arrested, Lewis Coleman would plead not guilty, but considering the mass amount of evidence against him, he would later be found otherwise by a federal jury. As of